Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here, your commentator, alongside me, TK, who is going to be rounding off the season with me. Down the inside, absolutely impossible scene.
This is for the win between these two.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
He needs to get it done now.
Blakey will dive to the inside.
We'll go bust. We got our elbows out.
Ronnar takes the lead.
Because here comes Alfie Butcher.
Can't really complain with that one.
It's not going to be easy. The pressure is on, of course.
Yarda Watmere is your champion.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome back once again to some more Monday Evening Madness here at Premier Sim Gaming League. So speaking of madness, that is the word of the day, because the championship picture at the top tier on the PlayStation side was shaken like a snow globe just a week ago in Mexico City. Tony Richet starting 2026 as he finished 2025, commandeering the top step of the podium and propelling himself into the championship lead for the very first time. He holds a slender 3-point advantage with just 3 races left to write the ending of Chapter 41 here in PSGL PSF1. As for last season's runner at Volakongen, it was his time to bid adieu to the championship lead. Tony Richet's back-to-back victories, casting him back into the role of hunter in this championship crusade. And just when it looked like everything was under control last week, cruel wheel trouble in the closing stages left him languishing down in 9th after looking nailed on to finish 2nd behind Tony Richet. And that result would have kept Volakongen atop the drivers' standings. But if you really want to tear up the form guide, well, there is no better place to do it than where we find ourselves tonight. Welcome to the Mecca of Melee. Yes, the Jeddah Corniche circuit. A ribbon of asphalt stitched into the heart, the beating heart of Saudi Arabia. And this is a place where, and me and Logan both know this all too well, carnage is never far away. Where margins are microscopic and championships can be made or shattered in a heartbeat. If you want to stamp your authority on this title tussle, well, you're going to have to survive this cauldron of chaos, the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. I'm really looking forward to this one. We'll get into some of the lore in a few moments' time. But Logan, first of all, how are you doing on this fine Monday evening?
Get your hands off my oil. I'm doing great, yes. I've been dreading this one, actually. Jeddah. It is extremely fast, but extremely tight. And therefore there is a high risk, but there is also high reward in terms of racing and results. We do not want to see a repeat of what happened the previous 2 times that we've been commentating on this together. I believe we have the Exhibit A and Exhibit B to show everyone.
We do. We'll get into that in a few moments' time. We'll just hold on to that as we go through the build-up. But the championship picture took quite a big turn, didn't it, last week? Tony Richet, a brilliant one-stop strategy, absolutely outfoxed, outclassed the rest of the field, who went for a 2-stop, ended up winning comfortably, and that has catapulted him to the lead of the championship with just 3 rounds to go. How crucial could that win be?
It could be as crucial as it could possibly be, as I could get the standings up. Tony Richet is now the 2nd driver to win multiple races. Alex Loeffler obviously still not in. It's actually in the lead by 3 points. So if Tony Richet and Volakongen sit out, Alex Loeffler could still win the title by only doing a quarter of the season.
Don't think it's going to end up like that. Alex Loeffler, we spoke about it last week. There was a possibility maybe if some absolute maladies befell the drivers that are battling away behind him. Volakongen with a 9th place finish, his first result, or his worst result I should say, in the last 5. We'll bring the driver standings up on screen for everybody to take a look at, and for what was a 5 or even 6 horse race just a few rounds ago, that has narrowed dramatically. 2 drivers taking a stranglehold on this championship crusade. At the top, it was Volakongen who initially stretched his legs. You can see that run of 3 podiums in 4 races, but has now been usurped. Tony Richet, victorious in Great Britain, victorious again in Mexico, has seized the momentum and now leads this charge. 20 points adrift of Volakongen, and in need of something bordering on a miracle, I think is the best way to put it. The 2 V-Carb drivers, Dirk, 3 scoreless races following his superb victory in Monaco, returning to the podium, let alone the top 10, with a hard-fought 3rd place last week. Level on points with Mats van der Geest, who's also struggled to find rhythm, just 1 top 5 in his last 4 outings, and inconsistency has plagued much of the chasing pack's charge. Ivan Eskrig only scored points once in the last 4. Otzazito, despite that heroic win in Spain a few weeks ago, has only scored in 50% of the 38 rounds this season. And Nico's campaign, well, that has stalled entirely. Only a single points finish across his last 5 after scoring in each of the first 3, with a second place thrown in there to boot as well at the Circuit of the Americas. Turn to the Constructors' Championship, and this is a really interesting battle as well. Alpine still lead the way, but are they rolling out the red carpet for the Scarlet Red Ferrari Force? 3 consecutive victories for the Scuderia slashed the gap to just 6 points out in front. VCARB Mercedes remain outsiders, but with deficits of 23 and 28 points respectively, they are very much running out of road. And if we look at the foot of the table as well, Haas looking set to take the wooden spoon back stateside, just 8 points from 8 rounds, already 20 adrift of 9th place Sauber. This is a really nice place to be in though, isn't it, Logan? The Drivers and Constructors Championships with 3 races to go, both very much up in the air.
Yes, of course, 3 rounds to go. It's getting to the business end of the season, and every point is going to count here, especially at the top of the Constructors table, with Ferrari instantly catching up to Alpine, of course, with the absence of some drivers last week. Ferrari have capitalised to the fullest, and they are looking for the championship. And of course, Volkongen is still in that with a shout against Tony Richet, but he's going to have to find every point he can if he's going to have a chance at winning this. I don't know if I've got any invites. Yes, I have got an invite. Thank goodness for that.
Excellent news.
Sorry.
Can't leave anything on the table, I think, is the best way to summarise where Volkongen finds himself. The momentum no longer with him, the form guide not with him as well. We spoke about form guide earlier on. Let's have a little bit of a look at the circuit that we are racing at. 27 corners, more than any other circuit on the calendar. Coming thick and fast. The challenge here is, of course, trying to thread the needle between the unforgiving, ever-present barriers with absolutely no room for error. Sector 1 in particular, a test of nerve. Carry as much speed as you dare, because hesitation and a little bit of tentative driving will cost you time instantaneously. Dirty air, of course, will play a part as well, but strategic offsets, smart strategic offsets, can help mitigate that. On paper, looks like we're going to be returning to the one-stop as the flavour of the day. A shift after 95% of the drivers in the past 2 races have favoured the 2-stop strategy. Keep an eye on the opening skirmishes as well. You can see the switchback chicane at the start of the lap, inviting some late lunges and more than a little dose of drama. And then the final corner, Logan, which we will come on to now, turn 27, a corner with a habit of deciding races and occasionally destroying them. We're going to just bring up here a little bit of a look-see at what happened a few seasons ago. This was in PSGL PS2. We actually had this back-to-back in season 38 and season 39. An absolute calamity coming out of the final corner. Look at that.
Oh dear, that's a horrible way to end. Nico Sauce handed it on a plate. That is a nasty incident, and I can't even see what's happened.
Absolute bedlam
goodness,
coming out of the
absolute
final corner.
car park.
What is the
We've only
likelihood
got
we could see
9
something like
cars
this again?
left.
Oh dear. That
It's not off now. It's not off now. Logan,
it's
what
gonna
are we
be
going to see? Are we going to see it again?
each other. Free wide
If
to
so,
the final
I'm
corner.
going to give the
Nico Sauce goes on the
commentary
outside.
mic to someone else because
Oh,
I
and
don't think
the
it's
outside as well. They're clinching
Was
each
a
other.
very
Oh,
interesting
no.
occurrence, wasn't it? That
I think
final lap skirmish.
Being F1, I think there's going to be much less of a chance.
You'd like to think
see
so.
a-
You'd like to think so, wouldn't you? But Saudi Arabia, Jeddah's always got a history of just throwing in that little bit of unexpected carnage. It has to be said. Drivers looking to extract the maximum from themselves and living on the ragged edge. If you want to do the same, though, before we get going, want to try and extract that little bit more performance out of your own car, then head over to the title sponsor. Linked in the description of this stream, it is Sim Racing Setups. Unlock extra performance with their Pro F1 25 car setups, created and developed by the very drivers you see competing week in, week out here at PSGL. Esports and stable setups available for every single circuit, whether it's quality or race setups you're after, dry or wet weather, they have got you covered. Optimal race strategies and free meta updates thrown in there as well. All available for just £49.49 at simracingsetup.com. If you think about it, 27 circuits on the F1 game at the moment. $49.99 divided by 27, and that is pretty darn good value. Make sure you use the code PSGL at checkout as well for a delightful 5% discount on your purchase. But Logan, before we head into the action, are there any drivers in particular you've got your eye on? Who needs to try and make a run and make a statement with only 3 races to go tonight?
Well, my eyes are on Volkongen, of course. He is 3 points behind Tony Richet, of course. I'll be having my eyes on both of them tonight. Further down the table, you've got, of course, Tony Richet's teammate, Otso Zito. He might throw some cats amongst the pigeons in terms of the race dynamic. But yeah, it looks like the top two are going to be fighting nip and tuck tonight. The next challenger being Dirk and Van de Geest, the two V-Car boys. 20 points behind Mercedes. A lot of catching up to do, but there are 3 rounds to go. 51 points available. Anything can happen. And speaking of anything can happen, right there behind me, you can also watch at the same time the F2 action.
How's that going? Can we get a live update as we wait for the drivers to ready up and load in?
Yes, Sieb is 3 seconds ahead of Tycho, and the guys in 3rd, 4th, and 5th are on penalties.
Damn.
And I'm not sure if there's been any pit stops, so it's not shown on the graphic there. But unless they missed something, of course. Yeah, they're not showing the graphics. I don't know what's going on. But hey, Sieb is still leading by about 2.8 seconds, but there's halfway the race to go. Just 12 laps done.
Yeah, we haven't spoken about track limits actually, because you're on the ragged edge, in particular through the first set, to have to be so precise, so accurate with your inputs. If you've got a car that's a little bit understeer, you're on the opposite end of the spectrum, a little bit too much over rotation and oversteer, you're just going to be struggling to find that accuracy. You are going to be going over the white lines. There are some horrendous sausage curves you need to avoid as well that can Tony Hawk you and send you pitching into the barriers. Track limits are going to be crucial. Could be 3, 6, 9, maybe even more seconds worth of penalties. Yes, we're at the top echelons of PSGL on the PlayStation side, but sometimes when you are pushing too hard, just can maybe get a little bit lazy sometimes. Just get dragged in, and then things start to snowball with those track limits.
Yes, the track limits on here can be quite punishing if you do go across the line, as they say. Even though there's a lot of walls, there's also a lot of places you can go running off, especially the lovely painted artworks you see around the track. That probably took a while to paint over during the course of the year. But we are about to get ready. In fact, almost readied up everywhere with 15 seconds to go. So,
absolutely delightful. Good news. We haven't got a full grid, unfortunately, this evening. We'll get confirmation of the full numbers. I think it's around about 15 or 16, which still leaves everything open for interpretation. Maybe a little bit of carnage thrown in. Welcome everybody that has joined us as well on this Monday evening, second PSGL PSF1 race of 2026. Hopefully it is an absolute banger. Interesting race last week in Mexico. A bit of a strategic one. Tony Richet absolutely having the number of everybody else out there, absolutely blitzed it with a one-stop strategy and making everybody else look like fools as he absolutely aced it. Did a fantastic job. Heading over then, we can see the beautiful pit garage. If you are new to PSGL, 18-minute qualifying session to kick things off. No restarts in between either, unless we have a little bit of a glitch going on. They'll be jumping into a 50% race, which I believe is 25 laps here around the Jeddah Corniche circuit tonight.
Yep, 50 laps in regulation, but 25 to, speed things up, make it more palatable for our viewers, because, of course, it makes it more interesting, I think. It's a little bit of a long slog when you're doing 305 kilometers. That's why it's only 152.5 kilometers, which is obviously half of the regulation. I don't know why it's 305. Why don't you just make it around 300? But hey, that's the FIA to decide, not me or him, or Kryptonite. But
100%. Looking currently at your new championship leader, Tony Richet, leading the way by 3 points, and is coincidentally the third man out on circuit behind Mats van der Geest and Phil van der Geest. Once again in the beautiful Miami livery, bright pink Racing Bulls car. Lovely, lovely livery. That really pops and really stands out, especially under the lights here in Saudi Arabia. And Mats van der Geest is under a little bit of pressure here. At one stage was very much in the title battle, falling now to 23 points off the summit. Needs a big result here if he's to catapult himself back into the game with a couple of rounds to go after this.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty crucial here, just to mention. To mention both Red Bulls are using the White Bull livery from Japan. Therefore, we have 3 V-carbs here tonight and 1
Racing
India.
Point, 1 pink Mercedes, perhaps, I think is the way to go for it. We're going to ride on board with Mats van der Geest into turn 1. Got to be careful of the sausage curb on the inside. Really cranking on the steering wheel as you go through turns 2 and 3. Welcome into everybody once again. Hello to Robin, jumping in for the first time. Really close to the wall, the inside of turn 4. Mats van der Geest carrying a lot of speed and trying to get this first sector picture point perfect. Here's the first of the sausage curves where if you get it wrong, you're going to be grinding out Tony Hawking offline, but that's very nicely done actually from Mats von der Geest. Needs to try and pick up a little bit of form, as it's a 31.6 first sector, barreling now into the middle sector. Lovely corner this. A little bit of a tricky traction though, but you can carry so much speed through turn 13. Not unlucky on this occasion for Mats von der Geest, and then this is where things can get a bit tight and a bit tetchy. You've got to be careful through 15, 16 and 17. Bit of a wobble over the curb, but keeping it just about pointing on the straight and narrow and barreling down again. The setup got to try and compromise it ever so slightly. You want the downforce through these high-speed corners. You want the car anchored to the ground, but you don't want to be a boat anchor in a straight line. If you do just crank on too much wing, they'll leave you very vulnerable. Nice through turns 22, 3 and 4. So many core numbers, 27 to be precise as we approach the final one. The final braking zone of 27. Got to get it right. Similar to 13, you can carry a lot more speed than you'd think. Don't do a Max Verstappen from 2021 on the exit and pulling gears up to the line. No slipstream from the Aston Martin, keeping it all the way over to the left-hand side. The benchmark is a 25.9 for Mats von der Geest. We return to Tony Richet with the Alpine getting out of the way. Championship lead around the final corner. Can he continue this rich vein of form on pole last week? Back-to-back race winner. End of 25. Start of 26. Phil with a 26.5. Tony Richet goes second only, not underneath the 126 barrier. 26.1, maybe a little bit of work for himself to do.
Yeah, this track can be quite punishing if you make a mistake, and I think Tony Richet's just realised that in his first run. He's actually fallen down to third now. He's 1.5 tenths down on Mats van der Geest now. The other V-Carb as a Red Bull is now a 126.048. Phil on there as well, 126.5, though we'll have to definitely go again. Finley crossing the line. He goes up to third ahead of Tony Richet now. So Tony Richet definitely going to have to go again. That is unacceptable by his standards. We've got another car putting the line. That's Dylan Hogland. He's just a quarter of a tenth behind. And Ollie Mackie is 100th behind Tony Richet. So very all out in the midfield. Gavroche has joined, so we're up to 17 now.
Good news.
We should see him come out soon. But it looks like we've got 16 on track right now. Oxozito in the Monza livery. Come around the final corner. And that is a gorgeous livery, by the way. I saw it in person, so I know what it looks like. Well, on cameras anyway. It was too fast for me without it.
Oof.
Goes third with a 0.02 of a second time slower than Lawrence in the White Bull. And
Ooh.
Tony Richet, he's ahead of his teammate as well by 800, so Tony Richet will not be pleased.
Couple of mistakes. Snacks clouting the barrier coming out of the final corner. Only 11th fastest for a drive that, as Bobby Dude has said, welcome in Bobby Dude this evening, has had a really strong season. Really good flashes of pace for Snacks, and has, as you have noticed as well, changed his allegiance. No longer with TF10, back with a SCI. I always want to call it CSI, don't I? And Volokongan, former championship leader, last season's runner-up, making a mess of it through the first sector. 34.7 on his second attempt, but this looks a little bit staccato as well. And yes, Volokongan leaving himself under a little bit of pressure here as Lars Kramer and the Williams up into P11. Teammate Nico currently holding fourth at the moment, looking to try and get back onto a decent run of form. But the driver under most pressure going into the back end of this session is going to be Volokongan, you would say. Needs to try and arrest this slide. Has been in good form. Last time out with that 9th place, it was the first time in 5 races he hadn't finished inside the top 5, but has lost the championship lead, and it is the form guide going firmly to Maranello with Tony Richet.
Yeah, so we are all but one driver, Gavroche, who's just arrived, is going to be on the board. Well, Volokongan's 23 seconds down, so he'll definitely have to go again. Not this time, he is out of fuel, so he's going to have to pit right at the end. No one on a lap as I speak, so good downtime. As Van der Geest in the pink Vitz from Gran Turismo 3. Sorry, no, just the Miami V-Carb, sorry. I never get tired of Rhino GT's clip of he going, ew, it's pink! And then expletive, pink! When he got the pink Vitz, or the Yaris, which you can unlock in Gran Turismo 3, which is quite funny.
I liked the pink liveries. I did like the Force India ones. Less so, I think it was 2019 with Racing Point when they had Sport Pacer branding, and you had this like incongruent mix of pink, white, a little bit of dark blue thrown in. It just looked, well, a little bit forced. It's like the ING sponsored Renault years where it just looked a little bit messy and a little bit clumsy, but they cleaned it up nicely for 2020, and then obviously became Aston Martin for 2021, and those liveries have been absolutely stunning. Mats van der Geest powering up to start his second flying lap of this qualifying session. Bit of a wobble as he plants the loud pedal coming out of turn 27. Cutting the beam is the provisional pole sitter. He was the first to get a time on the board. That has not been usurped as yet. Every single driver barring Gavroche has had a go. It's still Mats van der Geest leading the charge, nicely rotating through turns 1, 2 and 3. Now got to be so careful through turn 4. So brave. The barrier sticks out more than you think on the inside. Got to be careful you don't exceed track limits either on the exit. Now throwing the needle through 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. We go to complete the first set. A bit of a slide there on the exit of turn 10. We're keeping it just about pointing in the right direction. We are up by just under a tenth of a second. So this could be Mats van der Geest lowering that benchmark even further.
It could be indeed. So Van der Geest coming through the second sector, getting as much room as he can through these corners and over the sausage curve, which catches out a lot. Looks pretty good on that. There goes across the apexes, which are pretty much non-existent with them rumble strips. It's just there for show, really. They're on the inside of the white line, and that's not, and he has invalidated. So no improvement from Van der Geest, but still at the top of the heap.
Not what you need, is it? And the driver that's currently second has started their second flying lap out there. Laura's on a 26 flat. Mats van der Geest the only driver in the 125s as things stand. Gavroche also out on their first flying lap of the session. Every single driver barring Mats van der Geest on the circuit as we speak. The provisional pole sitter making a mistake. That looked a little bit wild from Lawrence as he also falls foul of the track limits. Was down by a tenth anyway. That just looked a little bit messy. Just pushing a little bit too hard maybe as we turn our attention to the Haas driver of Gavroche that did join ever so slightly late. I think this is the first time this season we are seeing Gavroche piloting one of these 20 Formula 1 cars. It looks like it was a fairly decent run through 14, 15 and 16. Now coming up to very similar sequence of corners. 22, 23, 24. Got to be so precise. Tail just hanging out a little bit through 23. Just about keeping it between the white lines. And now your foot is absolutely flat. Almost punching a hole in the floor of your Formula 1 car as you bury the throttle to try and carry as much speed as you possibly can. Heavy braking zone again down into turn 27. Very easy to lock up the front left in particular. Might get a distant tow from the Aston Martin in front. DRS lap is opening. What is Gavroche's first time on the board is P12 for a 26.3. Very, very congested in the low 1 minute 26s.
And therefore 5 drivers have lost to the gritty Haas.
Oh no.
Yeah, I've got to say it. That's what will be named the 2026 TTR Haas and not MoneyGram Haas. But the less said about sponsors, the better, of course. Don't want to. Actually, no, they probably yes, but they don't. This is just an amateur stream.
Championship leader, by the way. Tony Richet up by nearly a quarter of a second through Sector 1 and Sector 2. This could be last week's winner, last week's pole sitter, jumping back up to his more familiar position of P1. Polymac in a kick Sauber, second fastest still. Nobody other than Mats van der Geest can get into the 125s. I think that might be about to change, though. Powering up to the line comes the Scarlet Ferrari car. Can he do it? No, misses it by 9 milliseconds. Tony Richet is onto the front row, but Mats van der Geest is still safe as houses on provisional pole as things stand. What about the other Ferrari? Ottozito up by half a tenth through the first sector. Can he continue to try and find some time? Remember, Ferrari going for the Constructors' Championship. Last season's runner-up Volokong, and big improvement gets into the 25s as well. 25.999. Ottozito finding a big improvement too.
9 thousandths separate first and second. 9 thousandths separate second and third. Who's next to cross the line? Dylan Hogland goes to the top by 41 thousandths of a second. But Snacks 125.797. He didn't go into the 8s. He went into the 7s.
Wow. Otsazito gets into the 8th, but only second fastest. Going to be cursing his luck because that is a blistering lap time from the Chrome and Papaya McLaren car of Snacks. Bobby Dude, absolutely right to point out that he's been having a very good game cycle. Nearly a 10th quicker than anybody else. The established runners left wanting a little bit here. Dylan Hogland's been in very, very good form recently, continuing that on 3rd place as things stand. Then 3 of the 4 realistic championship contenders, Max von der Geest ahead of the championship leader Tony Richet and the former championship leader Volokongen, needed to deliver on his second attempt, very much getting himself in and around the right kind of ballpark. Dirk holding P8 as well there on a 26 flat. Ivan Escri down in 12th on a 26-2. And Nico may be the one other driver that could have a late assault. P10 currently on that 26 flat. That changes the perspective massively going into the final runs as everybody straps on brand new tyres. Snacks has laid down the gauntlet to some tune.
Yeah, I was about to say Lars Kramer has banged into the wall and has lost his end plate, so he'll have to come in and get that repaired. I don't know how much time we've got left. All I'm seeing is yellow flags. I wish they would move these out of the way for F1 26. Wait.
Oh, no.
For the next F1 game. But, wait, hold on. Hold on, I think we see a crime on here.
Oh, Max von der Geest improvement, by the way.
No.
Went again, backed off, goes 3rd fastest. 25.9, found just under a 10th of a second to get himself back ahead of Dylan Hogland.
Oh no, I've just witnessed a crime on Snat's car. The number.
Oh, Max von der Geest is gone. I think he's binned it. I can't see, but he's binned it in the first sector. So that is Max von der Geest done in qualifying.
Horrible time to crash.
I saw we had about 4 minutes to go, but that is, well, a little bit of a concern there for Max von der Geest on his in-lap. Yes, 4 minutes and 7 seconds. He won't get the opportunity to go again. Might have a fresh set of soft compound tyres still at his disposal, but it's 3rd at best for Max von der Geest, who had been looking so strong. Definitely was one of the drivers that could have got close to Snacks out in front. McLaren, Ferrari, Racing Bulls, Red Bull, Ferrari, your top 5. The top 6 inside the 1 minute 26 barrier. Volokonga getting in by 1 millisecond.
Yeah. I've just seen Snat's number. It's a crime against humanity on his car.
What is it? Is it
the
44?
number? No, it's not 44. You can't have 44.
Oh yeah, that's true.
You
Isn't it?
can't have 6. You can't have 5. It's the number all the kids have been saying.
I'm not going to say it, but I know exactly what you are meaning. And funnily enough, Lars Kramer going through the very corners that I think both of us are thinking about at the moment. 14th at the moment for the Williams of Lars Kramer. You pointed it out. Had a bit of a tete-a-tete with the barriers on their second flying lap. Needs to find a substantial improvement in that second Williams car. Really congested. If you go from, well, Max von der Geest in 3rd on that 25.9 down to Phil in 15th on a 26.2. That is less than 3/10 of a second. Less than 4/10 of a second, sorry, I should say. That is absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it is indeed. The top, as I say, it's quite clear at the top. It's nearly 3/4 of a second at the top. But then when you get to 4th through to 11th, they're within 1/10. It's that minuscule. That's why every millisecond is crucial in this competition. Oh, by the way, I forgot the Williams guys were using, well, one's using the Golf livery, the other's using the vanilla livery, as I call it, because it's not a change. I think Lars Kramer's going to be the first one to get off on a lap. He broke his wings earlier. Well, let's hope he's not stolen a Red Bull can and got them back.
Down to turn 1. Heavy braking zone, got to rotate it nicely. Less than 2 minutes to go. These are the laps that are going to count. Everybody on circuit, barring Max von der Geest, who pitched it into the barrier at this corner through turn number 4. Ivan Escri kicks off, and we're going to focus as well on Volokongen, currently P6, looking to try and wrestle back the championship lead. Lars Kramer's round. Just about keeps hold of it, but he chips off part of his front wing again. Big slide as those rear tyres giving up on him, and that is his qualifying session, you would imagine, thrown in the bin. We turn our attention now as there's a bit of backing up going on into the final corner. Somebody that is going to have clear clear track is Volokongan in P6. 25.999 to beat. He'll be hoping as he gets a little bit out of shape there through turn 4. Just whack the curb on the inside, unsettling the Mercedes car ever so slightly, trying not to do what Lars Kramer did, going through turns 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9, keeping it nice and tidy, really committed coming through 10 as well, powering it out through 11 and 12 and up to 13, up by a 10th and a half. Hold your horses, everybody. Last season's runner-up has arrived on the scene. Big improvement that through the first set. Can he continue to find the time, eke away at it, chip away at it, corner by corner by corner. Volokongan trying to get back up to the sharp end, a little bit wide of the apex, coming into turns 15, 16 and 17. I don't think he would have maybe picked up too much time there. Foot flat to the floor once again. So much of this lap, it's been absolutely flat out, flat as you like, as Lars Kramer's done. Yes, a little bit of time is lost there by Volokongan in the middle sector. Needs to try and arrest that slide at the moment. Odds on to maybe steal a front row spot provisionally from Otsazito. Ivan Eskri pushes the two main championship protagonists down a spot. Into P5 goes the Alpine. 25.9, a member of the 25.9 club. Can Volokongan one-up them and try and escape from this little gang? Round in the final corner we go. Former championship leader hasn't got enough battery left. Cutting the beam. It is just about an improvement, but doesn't leapfrog Tony Richet, who equally is not finding that much time either. 13 milliseconds through sector 1 and 2. Durr coming to P3, usurps his team. It's an RB3-4 as Wade doesn't find improvement, stays down in 13th. Tony Richet, championship leader, needs to try and find the time. Cutting the beam, gets onto the front row. Brilliant final sector. Jumps ahead of his teammate by 4 milliseconds. It's still Snacks leading the way in the Papaya and Chrome McLaren. Phil up to 11th. Polymaki's done, no improvement. We wait for Ossazito. We wait for Snacks. Lawrence out of nowhere. Fastest overall. Snacks is done. He's invalidated. Ossazito is P5 at the moment. It's Dylan Hogland in 4th. Ossazito gets back ahead of his teammate. And that, you think, is that. Nico up into P5. Snacks making a mistake late on. Dylan Hogland in P3. It's Finlay up in P6. The championship protagonists have found themselves tumbling through the field. Tony Richet is 7th. Volokongan is 11th. And once again, it's another big twist in this championship crusade. A Red Bull 1-3. Lawrence pulling it out of the bag with a 27.7 to go fastest. Just about nicking it from Snacks with Dylan Hogland, Ossazito and Nico the top 5.
Yeah, Lawrence for a 125.767. Ahead of Snacks by 0.03. Fitting. Gavroche, by the way, just jumped ahead of Lars Kramer right at the end. So Lars Kramer, despite being half a second down, is in last place. Again, minuscule numbers today as we wait for Volokongan to round the final corner. He's not on a lap. He's out of fuel, actually. So he's going to come into the pits and delay the inevitable. So Lawrence taking pole position and gets the point. Snacks also in the front row. Tony Richet down in 7th.
Wow. And that's not that bad because Volokongan's only 11th. And that has thrown a spanner in the works for both of them, really. The top 7 separated by less than a 10th of a second. Snacks thought he had it, invalidated his final run and was pocket pinched by Lawrence. Sandwiched by the other Red Bull with Dylan Hogland P3. Ossazito, the highest placed Ferrari in 4th ahead of Nico. Nice return to form for the Williams driver. Finlay, the highest placed Mercedes as well ahead of Tony Richet and the two V-Carbs who at one stage were 3rd and 4th. Ivan Eskreek in 10th ahead of Volokongan. Polymaki, the Aston Martins of Fillens Wade, the Haas cars of Surface and Gavroche, and Lars Kramer bringing up the rear. That is a qualifying session that I think, Logan, leaves us with more questions than answers.
Yes, but hopefully we don't have more questions and answers than we do in qualifying when we get to the end of the race. And of course, the race is about to come up right now. We are not doing the formation lap because that's boring and I don't think it works properly anyway.
That is a bit touch and go. Not 100% sure whether the formation lap is fully operational, but pressure. The two main championship protagonists, 1st and 2nd in the championship, both of them out-qualified by their teammates. That could prove crucial as well. Otsazito up in P4. Top 4 in the championship. None of them are inside the top 6 on the grid here.
No, they're not at all. It is going to be quite a pick-and-mix race, this, I'd say. It was a pick-and-mix qualifying for sure. But I dread what happens at the final corner. I dread the return of the Jeddah.
The return
PSGL
of turn
Wars, episode
27.
Yeah.
I like that. The return of the Jeddah.
Turn 27 strikes back.
How many more Star Wars references can we throw in there before we kick off?
I've never watched Star Wars, ironically.
Neither have I.
need to.
So we are two very uncultured human beings.
Yeah, not true. I watch anime.
Oh, okay, fair enough. And we both watch F1. We watch darts. So yeah.
I don't watch much football now because it's all money. Yeah, I watch poker. I watch the World Series of Poker when it's on.
Interesting. I mean,
it's too much
I
money.
watch sim racing as well. That's an important one. Remember, everybody, if you want to try and get the best sim racing setups in the business, linked in the description, sim racing setups. Head over there, use the code PSGL at checkout for a 5% discount. Best setups in the game. If you want to try and improve your performance, extract that extra little bit of lap time out of yourself and your machinery, head over there and they have got you covered. Setups for every single circuit, esports, and stable setups for you to sink your teeth into. We await, though, the drivers to appear on the grid. Should be a one-stop race, as it has not been in the last few weeks, with the exception of Tony Richet pulling the one-stop in Mexico and winning. But the championship protagonist buried in the midfield. It's Red Bull versus McLaren on the front row, as it was in real life, and we're racing for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Lawrence, I think, gets off the grid nicely. It's actually Dylan Hoglan putting pressure on the McLaren of Snacks, trying it around the outside. Outside of one becomes the inside of two. Otsazito nipping at the heels of second and third as well. Still eyeball to eyeball, Snacks and Dylan Hoglan, with Lawrence clear out in front, just about rebuffing the assaulted Snacks, holding second place with a little bit of a love tap to boot as well, coming out of turn 4. Nico in P5 ahead of Finlay. Tony Richet not making up places. Vola Kongan, though, good start from 11th, already up into P9.
Pretty clean start from everyone. Lawrence leading Snats and Hoglan. Snats was fortunate to get out of there in second place. He had Dylan Hoglan all over him in the first couple of corners. But now Otsazito is going to try and make his move. He's closing up to the top 3. And further behind, Lars Kramer and Gavroche dueling for the last position. Gavroche stole it from him at the end of qualifying, and he's now lost it to Lars Kramer. He's already up one position, and he's going to go for the other Haas at the start. The gap's given up to half a second at the top, but now Dylan Hoglan's right behind Snats. And Otsazito is going to be watching as a interested bystander here. But now we've got Avery Creek as well, just behind Volkongen. Volkongen already up to 9th. And Van de Geest down to 11th. They swap positions, and it is not very good for Van de Geest, but it's pretty good for Volkongen. He has to get closer to Tony Richet, though, and get ahead of Tony Richet if he wants to get that championship lead.
Speaking about getting close, Dylan Hoglan fancies it down the inside of Snacks into the final corner. Once again, the McLaren has the traction coming out of it and does hold firm in second place. Round 2 in this scrap goes the route of the Papara Chrome McLaren, but do we think about it again? This time the inside of turn 1, no. Snacks throws the defensive shape and keeps once again the Red Bull at bay. Look at Altazito carrying so much speed there through turns 1 and 2, almost clattered into the rear of Dylan Hoglan as the two Haas cars now battling over the wooden spoon as they are in the Constructors' Championship. Bit of a gap, a couple of drivers hit the wall on the previous lap. Finlay was one of them, struggling to keep up with the quintet sat in front, holding back Tony Richet, Dirk and Vola Kongan, who has Ivan Eskri for close company as well, just inside the top 10.
Dylan Hoglan had a bit of a slide in the middle of the first sector, but he's recovered alright. But Otsazito is coming back. He's got a car built for combat, like Sonny Hayes would say in the F1 movie. Spoiler alert. He is right behind Dylan Hoglan as I speak. 2.5 tenths, and DRS is of course enabled after the first lap. So we're going to get underway with the DRS battles after this corner.
Finlay looks all over the place, by the way, in P6. Missing apexes left, right and centre. Championship leader smelling blood here as the Scarlet Ferrari car looking to mount an assault on the Silver Arrows down towards turn 22. I don't think he's quite close enough. A little bit of battery usage there for Finlay to hold firm ahead of the championship leader. Good news that is for Vola Kongan as well. Remember, they're teammates and part of the same racing stable. Further forward, Otsazito still very close to the back of Dylan Hoglan, who's not challenging the McLaren in front. His roles reversed because it's Snacks that actually piling the pressure on Lawrence. As I say that, he goes deep into the final corner and maybe leaves himself a tad vulnerable as we cut the beam to start lap number 3. Lawrence from Snacks, Dylan Hoglan, Otsazito and Nico, your top 5. Championship leader 7th. Second in the championship, Vola Kongan currently in P9. He made up 2 places on the opening lap, has held station in 9th ever since then.
Let the mind games begin. Lawrence still leading ahead of Snacks and Hoglan and Otsazito. The top 4 remain as they were at the very start of the race. While Kongan trying to close up to Dirk, but he's got Ivan Eskri all over his gearbox. And Van de Geest is still struggling down there in 11th. The two Haas's are at the bottom of the pack. and will have to make up some ground. But the two Aston Martins are going at it looks like. But Phil will hold off speed for the meantime, and that's going to allow Lars Kramer to go down the inside, and he's going to take the position. But Slade is not going to give that easily. He's going to go through the curbs. I'll be careful here, but Lars Kramer has pulled it off and up into 14th now.
Sensible there from Slade, a little bit lackadaisical to allow the Williams to shoot it up the inside in the first place, but then backing out of it once he realised his race in the battle for 14th was well and truly done. Now can get stuck in with the two Haskars. Returning to the front once again, it Snacks under the cosh, coming down the long straight through 26 and up towards 27. Here comes the McLaren, dumping the battery and dumping it down the inside of Lawrence, the pole sitter, into the final corner. Who's going to be braver on the exit with the loud pedal? It looks like once again Snacks with really good drive, and Lawrence under pressure from his teammate as well. Just about enough space there, boxed in with a pit wall there. We could be 3 wide into turn 1. 2 Red Bulls versus 1 Papaya. McLaren. Snacks have been given the cold shoulder, a bit of contact. Lawrence takes the lead, but is very deep into turn 1. That bogs his teammate, and Snacks coming straight back at Dylan Hoagland. Lawrence somehow still in the lead, backing up, parking the bus into turn 4. Dylan Hoagland stuck behind the McLaren of Snacks. Otsazito unable to do anything about it either. First real signs of some spicy dueling up front. The two Red Bulls trying to double team the McLaren, but Snacks was firm in rebuffing that assault.
I cannot believe everyone got out of it unscathed. I cannot believe nobody got damaged. I can't believe they're still in the same positions as they were. Otsazito is all up about Dylan Hoagland behind him on his gearbox, coming through the other end of the track. And now he's going to try and take that pole position right off him like taking candy from a baby. But now, this battle's also allowed Nico and Finlay to get involved, and maybe Tony Richet as well.
The amateur leader biding his time. Finlay was very close to the back of Nico, going through the middle sector. Surely they're saying that Finlay's going to be the odds-on favourite to get a penalty first, but it's Dylan Hoagland once again struggling there wide through 22, 3 and 4. And Otsazito may be lining up to try and push the Red Bull out of the podium places. What are your chances on the run down into the final corner? I think in a straight line the Red Bull's got the Ferrari covered with the DRS for the time being. And just using some battery again to hold firm in third position for the time being. Are we going to see rinse and repeat from what we had at the end of lap number 4 to start lap number 5? Snacks with the DRS open. This should be fairly regulation down the inside into turn 1. And for the first time, the lead properly changes hands. Snacks now leading for McLaren ahead of the two Red Bulls. The pole sitter Lawrence bumped down into second place ahead of his teammate Dylan Hoagland.
I'm fairly confident this is not going to be the only lead change of the night, because of course there are 21 laps to go here. We're doing 25 laps, half a regular Grand Prix distance. That's what we do in PSGL, you know, to keep it more entertained and more of a fast rat race. The lead is now 6/10. Snacks has got a breath of fresh air in front of him, and the two Red Bulls only scrapping with each other right now, saying, no, you have this position. No, I have this position. No, I'm going to get this win. Well, Otsazito is watching on very imminently, and he wants those positions. Both of them, maybe Snatsk as well. Actually, he probably has to get Snatsk as well. But now, Tony Richet and the others are going to be coming up behind if they're not careful. No one is out of DRS range, by the way. Look at that.
Still one big carriage from first down into 17th as we wait for the first driver to disembark. And the only driver on the hard compound tyres is Max von der Geest 11th, maybe explaining his slightly substandard start. Everybody else on the yellow-walled medium tyres. As we continue to prowl down into the final braking zone of lap number 5. Snacks leading the two Red Bull cars. Could it be deja vu for what we saw at the start as Max von der Geest battling away there with Ivan Eskrig into the final corner, trying to pick the pocket of the Alpine car. He lost places at the start, trying to reclaim them as those hard tyres finally firing up to the ideal operating window. They've got Volokong and Sat just in front of them as well. Will Ivan Eskrig try and hang it around the outside? The answer is yes, a little bit tentative. Now has the inside of turn number 2, but it's Max von der Geest with the high road, and I think he has managed to take 10th place off the hands of the Alpine.
Two pinkies clash for supremacy, and it is the non-regular pink car of the V car that takes the position into the points now on the hard tyres. Is that now a turning point for the tyre war? Is the hard starting to find their groove and the medium starting to lose it? Well, only time will tell, I guess. Top 5 is still the top 5, albeit a little mixed about at the top. Snats still leading, but Lawrence is starting to gain his time back, and I think Snacks does not look that easy as he was earlier. Lawrence is looking much more comfortable at the top, and there could be a battle for the lead once again. Dylan Hogland is going to be quite interested in that as well. He might have something to say about that, but Colin Mackey was getting up close to giving us free, but wasn't close enough to justify a move. And now we're going to approach the dreaded turn 27. There's going to be some fighting.
100%. Nico, the closest of the drivers in the top 5 to the car in front of them, but only a quarter of a second back and not really in a position to make any real impression into the braking zone. Bit of a wobble there for Dirk coming out of the final corner. Could leave him open to assaults from Volokongen, who's been quiet since making up those 2 places on the opening lap of the Grand Prix. Same for Tony Richet, championship leader, started 7th, still running 7th. Hasn't really been piling on the pressure to Finlay in front, who's just managed to calm it down a little bit in the last few laps. Was a little bit wild in the opening couple of laps, the opening salvos of this Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. But as we reach quarter distance, no penalties handed out as yet. But it does look like both Mercedes really just grappling for grip and struggling for confidence. Finlay's not really been that close to Nico in front, and Volokongen's made no real impression on Dirk either.
Oh, he hasn't at all. And the Geese still down in 10th, Dirk down in 8th, and it's got Volokongen in as the meat of that recarb sandwich. Gavroche is starting to close up to Kramer now. Gavroche started 16th, he's gained 1 spot, Lars has gained 3. It looks like the closest battle for now. I may be mistaken because Max Van Geese starting to close up to Volokongen. The problem with DRS trains though, you're going to get close to one driver, but that driver in front of you also has DRS, so it pretty much negates your DRS. And that can be quite problematic, and especially the rules changing, it might be a little more interesting next year without DRS. That was Max Van Geese thinking of a move of Volokongen, but he's backed out, and he's actually... Oh, we've got some pit stops!
Early into the box. Who's that? Dylan Hogland into the pits along with Nico in the Williams. So they're the first to blink, pull the punches at the start of lap number 8. And now we're going to get the first real indication of how powerful the undercut is. You saw Zwade there pulling over to the left-hand side, trying to make an impression on Gavroche into the braking zone of turns 1 and 2. That has just split up the DRS train a little bit. 8/10 separating Tony Richet and Dirk. 8/10 separating Finlay and Tony Richet. And a second now between the other Ferrari Voltazito and the driver in 4th, Finlay.
On hard tyres, and that should get them to the end of the race, unless there's a safety car, which we haven't had in a long time. I cannot remember the last time we had a safety car in PSF1. But it was, I don't even think we had one all season. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but we've definitely had virtual safety cars, but I don't count that, obviously. It's just a full course yellow to me. Like in Formula E, which was fun last night. Or Saturday, sorry.
Voltazito, by the way, under pressure as well. A second off the back of the leading duo. Will they react to the punch pulled on the previous turn by Dylan Hogland? Has he just managed to hang them out to dry and given himself an opportunity to get some track position? Here comes Lawrence with the DRS up to the back of the McLaren into the braking zone of 27. Opts to stay behind for the time being, but we'll see what both of them are going to play strategy-wise. What cars do they lay down on the poker table that is the Jeddah Corniche circuit? Snack stays out. Lawrence peels off into the pits. Otzazito stays out as well.
Lawrence crossed the line. I saw him cross the entry line. I think that's going to be a slam dunk penalty.
Volokongen, by the way, down the inside of Dirk, who's lost 2 places. Volokongen threw up into 4th. Max von der Geest following in the footsteps of last season's runner-up as well. And that's a couple of places handed over for Dirk, who drops from 4th down to 6th. What about the undercut? Dylan Hogland has got himself ahead of Lawrence, as has Nico. Undercut, how powerful is it? The answer, well, very powerful.
Yes, absolutely so. Dylan and Nico already ahead of Lawrence, and Tony Richet down there in 15th as well. All ahead of Lars Kramer and Gavroche, who have hit as well. So, yeah, the problem with Otzazito here, when the driver's in front of you pit, you've got a huge gap to the driver in front of you, and that's going to be quite problematic for you. And in all honesty, that's why the undercut's pretty powerful in most tracks, and it's starting to show with Dylan Hogland now in the lead off that pack, which is only him, Nico, Lawrence, and Tony Richet. Lars Kramer and Gavroche nowhere near in terms of all due respect. Max van der Geest, the only driver on hards to start, should be pitting later. And he could go hang for a safety car if he wants to.
Snacks in. Race leader in. Ossazito follows suit. Finlay stays out. As Max van der Geest, by the way, is also going to pass Volokongren with helping Anna DRS into turn 1. So it's Mercedes RB, Alpine. We wait to see if Dylan Hogland is going to indeed be the net race leader. Got to be careful because Lawrence is right in the thick of this fight as well. DRS for the Williams, DRS for the Red Bull. Where is the Papaya and Chrome McLaren of Snacks? Not in the picture there. Is he going to be further back? Yes, way behind. There's the championship leader, Tony Richet. Wasn't quite able to undercut the McLaren of Snacks. 2 seconds the gap between the Red Bulls and Nico. And then Snacks in 12th, 1.7 back. The undercut still, like we thought, incredibly strong. This is shaking up the order, isn't it?
Absolutely, and that's what you love to see. The early undercut shaking up the order. And it has paid off in dividends for Dylan, but they have the disadvantage of their tyres running out sooner than the drivers after them pitting. And of course, you can't forget Van der Geest, who's got the complete alternate strategy to everyone. He's going to be pitting later, as we have mentioned about 50 times already. Finlay now in the lead, but it won't be for long because I'm sure he's going to pit this lap or the next. Volokongren as well, still there. He's going to have to pit on a different lap if he wants to avoid a double stack, especially with a championship on the line. Dirt there in 4th as well. Down Volokongren right behind Van der Geest, who is not going to be pitting for some time. And who's going to be the one to pit? Neither of them. They're not going to pit yet. And Dirt is also opted not to pit. Svide, though, is pitting.
And watch this out of the final corner once again. Polymaki is close to Ivanescu, but the battle for the net race lead continues to rage on. Swayed in the pits, Tony Richet, fastest lap of the race, but Lauren's still not close enough. Catching some strays in the chat as well, either for his strategy or for, like you said, cutting the line at pit lane entry, which I believe might as well be a slam dunk penalty, as you correctly pointed out earlier on. Very eagle-eyed from yourself there, as Max van der Geest has taken the race lead. Finlay, I think, has had a bit of a whoopsie in the first sector. Through goes his team, and just as the Finlay fan club comes out, he makes a bit of a mistake there and drops down into P3. So you should have stopped the race at the start of the lap, because he's now no longer leading. His tyres look absolutely shot.
Oh no, his tyres are gone, and I can say that because it is a Mercedes. Not Antonelli's one, obviously. Not Hamilton, because of course he's now at Ferrari. Regrettable. I saw a funny meme about it, but that's for another day. Dirt is right in the thick of it now. He's got the 2 of his SCI stablemates in front of him. And this is quite the conundrum now for Mercedes. They put off pitting for a while, and they can't pit at the same time because of the double stack. But now it will hurt Finlay because, of course, Volokongren's now ahead. Now, what's going to happen here? Is there going to be a pit stop from either of these guys at this point? Surely it's got to be one of them. Yep, it's going to be Volokongren, it looks like. And Finlay will have to stay out. Also coming in are Dirk and Evanes Krieg, Polymaki and Phil staying out.
Going to be way back though. Volokongren usually very shrewd when it comes to strategic races, but I think he's left this way too long because he's going to have a decent tyre offset, but he's going to be absolutely yonks behind the main drives that he needs to be fighting. Dylan Hogden still the net race leader from Nico Lawrence and Snacks. Tony Richet a net P5 ahead of his teammate. Done a good job to undercut his teammate there, get ahead of Ossazito. Volokongren is a long way back in P12. He's about 6, maybe 7 seconds off the back of that lead group. He's going to try and find that time now in the second half of this race to catch him back up.
Yeah, he's behind Gavrock and Lars Kramer, who started at the very back. And Dirk, Evanes Krieg, Polymaki, they started further up, and they're right at the back as well. This is crazy stuff. Right at the back here, but at the front, it's not unusual to see Van der Geest at the front, Finlay and Phil, because they haven't pit, but Nico pretty much in net second right now, and surely Finlay and Phil are going to have to pit this lap. They're sliding all over the place.
Oh, it's absolutely dead. The mediums not lasting that long, and these drivers that have taken the pain of trying to extend them a little bit further, but they're going to lay them to rest eventually, and resting them 6 feet under by the time they return to the pit lane. Dylan Hogland, Nico Lawrence, very close on the run through 26. The Williams once again opting to stay behind into the final corner, but this time he is much, much closer. But that goes the same for Lawrence and for Snacks as well. Finlay, no, is criminal. 10-second penalty for speeding in the pits. That is any chance of picking up some points in this race. Thrown in the nearest bin that he could find. Look at that. There's Snacks just thinking about it, maybe just hovering up the inside into turn 1. Wasn't quite far enough alongside, but just trying to spook Lawrence into a little bit of a mistake. Just misses braking zone. Try and get a foothold into this battle to give himself a chance of getting back up inside the top 3. Pole sitter versus second on the grid, running 3rd and 4th on the road now, with the exception of Mats van der Geest, who's still out there on his hard compound tyres.
So yeah, Volkongen pretty much back to square one. He's just one position up where he started. He's got Lars Kramer behind, who has done the earlier strategy and has probably paid off in dividends. They are now ahead and they're up to 8th and 9th. But the question is, how long can they keep those hard tyres freshness? Because of course they're going to be wearing it much earlier, unless their tyre management is pretty good. Van der Geest leads the way, albeit without a pit stop. Dylan Hogland in second, Nico in third. This is where the real battle is. Lawrence Schnatz and the 2 Ferraris, Tony Roche and Otto Zito, who could be going to blows soon. Right behind Otto Zito is Tony Roche, and he's got much more speed and he's going to have to make a move. This might get, in terms of Leclerc and Vettel territory at the front. There's a fight for pretty much the lead. It's going to be the 2 Red Bulls against the Williams of Nico. The 2 Red Bulls are side by side. The 2 Ferraris are side by side. Snatch gets almost in the wall. And now it's going all over the place. This is very dangerous from Schnatz. Is going to go on the inside of both Red Bulls. And somehow they avoid huge contact. Or have I spoken too soon? No, I have not.
Ossazita coming through, Snacks lighting up the rear tyres out of turn 2, and he drops back behind the Ferrari as well. Championship leader Tony Roche disposed of by his teammate, and Ossazita, not satisfied with one spot, picks the pocket of Snacks as well, and putting even more pain on the Papaya and Chrome McLaren car. I think I was trying to say there. Otsazita looks like he's got the bit between his teeth here, though. Absolutely rapid. Volokongen lapping very, very nicely as well. Now just 4 seconds off the back of this battling group of 6 cars, with Nico now leading the assault out in front ahead of the 2 Red Bull cars. That was robust, I think is the best way to put it from Lawrence there. Gave the big old squeeze on the main straight to Snacks. Made it very, very clear. No circuit. Well, not coming down the inside of me, actually. I'm going to hold on to this position, and you're going to be falling into the clutches of the Ferrari as well. And Finlay once again catching some strays as well in the chat after that little blunder there into the pit lane. Currently running last, and with that 10-second penalty, I don't think that's going to change all too soon. But Volokongen is coming at a rapid rate of knots, taking the gap down by a second on this tour alone. Do not discount last season's runner-up from battling at the sharp end in this race. Much, much fresher tyres, and if these guys continue to sink their teeth into one another to the level that they have been so far in this race since the pit stops, Volokongen could very much get back into the equation. The 2 Red Bulls debating second and third, net second and third, with Mats van der Geest still hanging it out there. Dirk battling away with Lars Kramer as well, both of them with DRS into turn 1. Who's going to be last of the late breakers? Lars Kramer tries to hang it around the outside, not quite given the time of day, and now returns the favour to Dirk, who has a big wobble with a little bit of contact involved as well. Surface tried to pick up the pieces, but he had an armful of opposite lock also as he ploughed the loud pedal coming out of turn 2. That got a little bit sketchy there. Ivan Eskery and Polly Mackie in the fray as well. Volokongen's just 2.5 seconds on the back of Tony Roche now.
Yeah, I'm here as well. That was very well held by Dirk. I thought it was all over for him, but he has saved it and is still in the race. He is now in 11th place. Evan Eskery against Surface were fighting for 12th place there. Polomaki down in 14th, getting very interested in this battle. Fell too far behind to fight on that for now, but the leads battle is starting to get pretty heated. Strap in, folks, this is just the start of it. Dylan Hogland is going to be the first to have dibs at Nico, who is in the net lead. Van der Geest obviously still yet to pit, so just cover that up for a second if you've got a piece of paper there. But Lawrence really starting to close up on his teammate as well. So is it all going to start kicking off again, T-Dub?
Well, Lawrence looks punchy. I think that's the best way to describe it. Continually darting all over the place, ducking and weaving underneath the rear wing of his teammate. Max von der Geest continues to soldier on. His pace, actually, out in front is very, very solid. Not losing too much time to this chasing group, partly because they're battling so hard, and it's such close quarters racing, allowing Volokong, you can see him there in the back of shot, just a second and a half now off the back of Tony Richet. Much fresher tyres. Volokong had to make up 7 seconds in the back end of this race. He's almost done that in about 4 laps.
Yeah, that is quite something. The battle still heating up, by the way, at the front. Otsozito and Snats starting to close in on each other. On Lawrence as well. Lawrence, he's not really been himself since he lost the lead. He's looked very frustrated, and he might be a little more frustrated if he gets past in this next lap or two. Snats is really starting to close up on Otsozito. He had about a tenth a gap between himself and the Ferrari in the special Monza livery, and of course the famous British Grand Prix chrome livery of Snats coming through. Oh, that's a mistake from Snats in the chicane, and that's not going to help him at all. And Otsozito is going to probably have free rein at trying to get Lawrence, but Lawrence is going to try and get Dylan Hogland before turn 27. He's going to try and go to the inside. Dives down the inside. The two Red Bulls collide. And this could get very dangerous if they don't let go of each other. And now Otsozito's getting pretty interested in this massive fight. But Van der Geest is finally pit, by the way. But now Otsozito's going to go to the outside of Lawrence. Oh, he nearly hits the back of Dylan Hogland, and they go into turn 2 together still. And Otsozito can't get the move done.
Wow. And look behind him as well. Tony Richet under massive pressure, because look who's arrived on the scene. It's Volokong, and first and second in the championship. Now going to be debating the same piece of tarmac. This is going to get fascinating. Lars Kramer. Contact. We've got the Williams round. We've got an Alpine involved as well. Lars Kramer's been disqualified as Dirk flies off the circuit. No idea what's happened there. He's got 30 seconds worth of penalties. Maybe a little bit of head loss perhaps involved in that little skirmish. First retiree of the race. Will the safety car make a visit? Can we just hold on? Are we going to see Bert Mylander? No, we're not. But look at this. Volokong again trying to make an impression on Tony Richet. Fancied it, didn't he, around the outside of turn 15, making his intentions very, very clear. He's still in this championship fight, and from looking at a pretty dead situation 5 or 6 laps ago, could suddenly be staring at the championship lead come the end of this race.
He could be. He has to get past him here. He won't lead the championship. He gets past him, though, but he will definitely be on the way to doing it. He pretty much has to score 4 points or more, because if he ties, Tony Richet will have the lead on count back with the 2 wins to Volokong 0. This is a crucial moment of the race for Volokong. Can he get past Tony Richet? Can he get past and try and take the championship lead away from him? Tony Richet ain't going to be holding back at all. He's going to cover the inside of turn 1, but that's going to give Volokong the inside of turn 2. On the inside, but it's not enough, I think. Or is it? He's still side by side, but now Tony Richet will have the inside on turn 3. They're both leaving it together, and they both almost go off the track, but I think they kept it as fair as it is. And we looked even a screen from the race. He's crashed. Is this the moment we have a safety car at last? No. What?
Still.
Where's my safety car?
Still missing in action, Bert Mylander. But what incredible racing that was. Snacks has a look down the inside of Otsozito. Suddenly this race has gone from level 2 on the volume meter to 11. We've amped it up right now with less than 10 laps to go in the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Tyres-wise, I can tell you that every single driver is on the same set of tyres, with the exception of Max von der Geest. Everybody on the hard tyres, but importantly, Nico and Dylan Hogland went for the undercut. They have the oldest tyres of everybody. Volokong has the youngest tyres, barring the Aston Martin of Phil. So watch this space, everybody. Ivan Escrig gone, 2 retirements in the space of a lap. But here we go once again, this battle royale between Tony Richet and Volokong. 2 main drivers in the championship picture, dueling for the same pieces of tarmac, as Nico still leading the way. Phil getting past surface. This is the scrap we want to look at again. It got a little bit touchy-feely on the previous tour between Tony Richet and Volokong. This is important though. 6th and 7th on the road. There's an opportunity for Volokong, if he can get his skates on, to pick up even more places in the latter stages of this Grand Prix. Max von der Geest fastest lap. Watch out for him. Absolutely rapid on his new set of medium tyres. But Volokong are not close enough yet to make another dart down the inside.
7 laps to go. Oh gosh, I fear for what happens at the finish. Van de Geest is on these 2-lap-old medium tyres and he's now up to 11th. He's now going to try and get ahead of Finlay in 10th. He has a penalty, so he's pretty much in the points now, but he definitely want to get past Finlay if he wants to get past the rest of them first. He's got Finlay in front of him. I don't think Finlay's going to even fight this because he knows that 10-second penalty is going to be haunting him at the end. He takes 10th place onto the track now, and now he'll be up to Phil, and he should get there in a lap or two.
Well, Max van der Geest could be the ultimate joker in the pack with just 7 laps to go here. He is absolutely motoring on those medium tyres. We know they degrade and fall away pace-wise very, very quickly, but they're much, much fresher than everybody else's tyres, and this could be fascinating. He could be soldering his way, carving his way through the field in the final laps of this Grand Prix. Another drive we need to keep a very close eye on. Lawrence has been a bit quiet in the last few laps, maybe wanting to change that, as again he's moving around the circuit, trying to just put his teammate off into the braking zone of the final corner. We prepare to start lap number 20 with Nico still leading the way ahead of the 2 Red Bull cars. Once again, though, it's close between the main championship protagonists. Look at this. Mirrors of Tony Richet filled with silver as darting to the outside goes Volokongen. Will it be brave on the brakes this time for Tony Richet? Outside of 1, inside of turn 2. Little bit of rubbing between the main protagonists for the championship. This is important for Tony Richet to hold firm. Volokongen again on the outside of 4. Has to leave the space. He slides off the road. There's contact again between the pair of them. And it's Tony Richet just about in the ascendancy. They've lost a second and a half to the group in front. Look at that Gavroche trying to get involved as well. Max van der Geest, Tony hawking over the curb goes Volokongen, and Max van der Geest pushes the Mercedes down a spot. Wow, 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 some fireworks between the main championship rivals.
And that's bad news for Volokongen. He's lost position at Van der Geest and he's lost a lot of momentum. He was challenged by Phil and Finlay there as well. Gavroche now closing up to Finlay for the point. Finlay should be getting out of the way any moment now. Actually, I think it was Van der Geest, and Van der Geest has already passed Tony. That battle's helped Van der Geest. He's now up into 7th. Oh, and Feder's left the session, but he is down in 15th. So
whoa, massive slide.
Oh, Van der Geest has went off the track.
Wow.
That's going to be a warning.
He was almost perpendicular. That's one of the biggest slides I've ever seen. Somehow he manages to save it. Can he leave himself vulnerable here into the final corner? We could be 3 wide. Look at this. First in the championship, second in the championship, third in the championship, battling for 6th round the final corner. Finally, Volokongen disposes of Tony Richet. Tried at the start of the lap, completes it at the end of the lap, but the Ferrari not going to back down, not going to go down without a fight and a scrap to start lap 21. Boxed in behind the RB is Volokongen. This time it's Tony Richet on the outside. Contact again. Once again, lap 1, 2, 3 in this battle. Contact between Richet and Volokongen, now giving a shoulder barge into the barrier. This is getting personal. Tony Richet getting his elbows out. Going to need surgery on those elbows. The amount they're getting battered in this scrap as he holds on again, and Volokongen going to be steaming from ear to ear. Cannot get past his main rival.
Calm down, dear. It's racing. Tony Richet and Volokongen still getting the handbags out on each other, fighting for every last point. He knows what's at stake. Far greater than the race win. A championship and all. 5 laps to go in this incredible blockbuster. Forget your Oscars. We have a winner.
Well, what are we going to see this lap? Volokongen a little bit messy there over the curb. Got to be careful because Phil actually has better tyres than Volokongen and could once again upset the apple cart here. Look at the Aston Martin very close to his Mercedes engine counterpart. Finlay could try and help out his teammate there. All of the 1, 2, 3, 4 as they flash through the picture, converging on each other into 22, 23 and 24. Handbags throwing them once again. Tony Richet and Volokongen. Here we go. DRS laps open. Tony Richet, is he defenseless this time? Volokongen holds back. It's Finlay. Chucks down the inside of 3 cars. Volokongen, the meat in a sandwich we don't want.
No.
There is your car park corner. Volokongen, his teammate, has potentially ruined his chances of trying to get this championship picture back on track. We're 4 wide on the run into turn number 1. We could be 6 wide. Volokongen has to hold on to 8th place here and does so. Finlay with another penalty for corner cutting. Polymaki's come out of absolutely nowhere to take P9. Phil 10th ahead of the Mercedes of Finlay and the 2 Haas cars at the back of this group. Dirk, round we go off the circle. I think it's surface making contact with his teammate. Dirk was definitely in the thick of that fight as well. Kicking off here, fireworks in Saudi Arabia. The championship battle exploding in front of our eyes.
Volkogan has no damage, but he's lost a lot of time to Tony Richey. Tony Richey is 1.8 seconds ahead, and I don't know if Volkogan can make that time up in time. He has the fresher time, but we've all admit that we forgot there's another battle. This is for the race win. This is for top honours tonight, and Van de Geest is ready to pounce on Snats. If he can possibly do that, he is in 6th place. I'm not sure if he's going to get the win here, but he can definitely make up a lot of spaces in these next 3 and a bit laps. First up will be Snats, who started in the front row, but he has struggled ever since the pit stops. Who's going to get the position here? Van de Geest is going to try and make the move on the inside. To the inside he goes at the final corner. No problem for the V-Car driver in the pink. And now it will be Otsuzito up ahead. His next target. 3 laps to go.
Easy as you like. 3 to go. Max van der Geest, I would say, maybe favourite to take this race victory if he can pick the cars off in front of him one by one by one by one, and he'll find himself atop the timing charts. Nico still leading the way, has been untroubled since he snatched the lead from Dylan Hogland about 10 or so laps ago. Lawrence in 3rd. We know he can be punchy. I think that is an understatement. Retiring from the race is Gavroche in the pits. And if all of that wasn't enough, Tony Richey and Volkogan, I think, might be about to renew their spoils with the Mercedes back inside the 1 second window of the Scarlet Ferrari car. Don't discount any more fireworks in the battle for 7th and 8th on the road. Top 8, none of them have penalties at the moment. I have a sneaky suspicion some of them might get penalties post-race. And Styler got there. Finlay killed the wrong guy. If he was trying to help out his teammate, well, he didn't do a particularly good job.
Yeah, I didn't like that from Finlay. He was nowhere in the race at all. I get he wants to help his teammate, but I think he did go too far. Now, Van de Geest, the only way he can win this is A, passing all these drivers, or B, turn 27, history repeats itself.
So close. We could be in for it with just over 2 to go. Nico leading the way still. Max van der Geest tucked up underneath the rear wing of Ottozito, who throws the defensive shape into the final corner. Max van der Geest got to go the long way round. Doesn't quite have the space on the outside. Ducking to the left-hand side to try and dispose of the Ferrari. Brilliant. And that is once again easy as you like. As will the battle for the lead. Dylan Hogland, the start of the penultimate lap, takes it from 2nd back up to 1st. Volkogan and Tony Richey, round number 65 between the pair of them. Volkogan takes the place, but he's deep into turn 1. Wheel banging again. They cannot get enough of each other. Joined at the hip in the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix with 2 laps to go. I think Volkogan finally gets it done. Tony Richey's tyres begging for a bit of mercy. And last season's runner-up takes a step closer to Tony Richey in the championship picture.
And now Tony Richey has to fight off Polomaki, who has a penalty and has to keep it on track as well. Back to the front. Dylan Hogland starting to pull away. Nico is struggling. Nico has Lawrence behind him. Van de Geest up there as well. We have 3 Red Bull cars. Yes, I'm saying that. With a Williams there. And they're all in unique liveries. Actually, all of the top 6 are all special liveries. Fun fact, but Dylan is now 8 tenths clear. Surely he can't lose this now. But then again, stranger things have happened. They're starting to regain the position now. With the time now.
Yeah, Dylan Hogland has tried to make his move here on the penultimate lap. Has Nico managed to go with him? You can see the ERS light flashing at the back of that Williams car. Is he gaining on the run into the final corner? Lawrence in P3. You can bet your bottom dollar if he senses the opportunity, we can send it down the inside. He will definitely send it down the inside. He won't just lick the stamp. He'll wash that stamp and chuck it on to the letter that he's sending. Max van der Geest in P4, running out of time here on those medium tyres as they start to wane. Dylan Hogland at the moment has it covered.
Dylan Hogland is just 6 kilometers away from victory. But Nico, Lawrence and Van de Geest will not give up at all. He will challenge him for everything he has, regardless of what they've got left. Because now they're going to deploy the battery like crazy they all are. And Van de Geest, how is he feeling on those medium tyres? He doesn't show any sign of struggle. He looks like he's going to try and have a shot at the podium after a horrendous qualifying ending in a disaster crash. Round the other side of the track we go. It's now 9 tenths, but that's not set in stone yet. He has to break the DRS. He has to deploy all that battery. I'd say deploy it now. Oh, Nico's went off the track. Now, there's still 1 second though, but I don't think he's going to be close enough.
Nico's vulnerable.
Max van der Geest has got this.
This is very, very close. Nico, I think, is vulnerable potentially, as is Lawrence. Dylan Hogland could have this covered as they go through 22, 3 and 4 for the final time. Max van der Geest tucked right up underneath the rear wheel of Lawrence. This is an opportunity for him with Volokong and Tony Richet struggling to kickstart his championship revival with a couple of laps to go. It'll be the outside into the final corner. Who's braver under brakes? I think it's the Red Bull of Lawrence who's going to squeeze Max van der Geest out. But in front of them, the sister Red Bull will win an absolute crackerjacker here in Saudi Arabia. Drag race to the line. Lawrence, does he hold on? Yes. 21 milliseconds. He holds on to his position on the podium. Dylan Hogland wins from Nico and Lawrence. Max van der Geest just misses out ahead of Otsazito and Snacks. Volokongan did finish in 7th ahead of Tony Richet, the main championship protagonist, in 7th and 8th at the flag. But the stewards may have something to say about the handbags and the elbows that we saw between them.
Yeah, absolutely, and I won't be surprised if we see some handbags in the chat, but Dylan held on very nicely and wins the race in all three. The top 3 are in alternate liveries. Actually, the top 6 were in special liveries. I think we should keep special liveries for the rest of the season in this league.
Agreed.
But it's Dylan ahead of Nico, ahead of Lawrence. Lawrence had the pole position, but he could not hold on to the win, but it will be 3rd place for him. But Dylan getting the win, and Nico, very good effort by him despite everything that happened, despite losing the lead late on, still gets that 2nd place silver medal.
100%. Dylan Hogland got cleanest dry reward if you're interested in those kind of things. I think that's definitely deserved. Fastest lap goes to Max van der Geest, 9th up to 4th. Lawrence, the pole sitter, couldn't quite convert it into a race victory. The strategy, the undercut was key for Hogland and Nico. Otsazito, Snacks, Volokong and Tony Richet, Phil and Polly Mackey, your point scorers ahead of Dirk Surface, Zwade, Finlay, and then the retirees, Gavroche, Ivan Eskrieg, and Lars Kramer. Well, well, well. I hope you enjoyed that, everybody. That was absolute carnage. Box office stuff there, as for some reason we've lost the background. I don't know what's gone on there. We'll skip to this screen. I mean, hello? Is the background still there? Well, the background's there, so it's missing in action, as is the safety car. But what a race. That was a lot of fun, Logan, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I'm surprised it went on as is. Thankfully, we didn't get a last lap crash, but I think that was made up for the handbags and the kerfuffle in the middle of the track, in the middle of the race. Sorry, trying to recover from this race, man. That was epic.
Unbelievable. Saudi Arabia. Sometimes, especially on this game, we can have races where Dirty Emmy's racing so difficult, but certain drivers definitely gave it their all on that one and left absolutely nothing on the table. Makes the championship complexion that little bit more interesting as well. As things stand, I think it'll be 1 point separating Volokongan with Tony Richet, separating Tony Richet and Volokongan with Tony Richet in the ascendancy. But that P4 for Max van der Geest does just bring himself a little bit further back into the equation. He could be the joker as our two aces do battle in the final 2 rounds.
Yeah, well, it will definitely indeed. The gap closes to 2 points at the top, and unfortunately, bad news for Alex Lofer, you can no longer win the championship.
Finally, absolutely confirmed that Alex Loaf, who did win the opening 3 races and then finished 2nd and then departed from PSGL PSF1, went over to the PC side, will not be the champion of PSGL PSF1 season 41. I think we're probably pleased about that. We don't really want a champion crowned after competing in just 4 of the 11 races. Speaking of 11 races, where are we heading for the final 2 weeks of season 41? Well, we can have a little bit of a gander over at the calendar. Jeddah this week in a week's time. My personal favourite circuit on the calendar. I've got a picture of it behind me. Interlagos, the Samba Magic of Brazil, as the penultimate round of the season, where we could see the champion crowned. That's completely
sorry.
Float there. We could see the champion crown there
to do it.
in Interlagos, the spiritual home of championship deciders, along with Suzuka, which isn't on the calendar. And then if it isn't decided, well, we'll go to Yas Marina in Abu Dhabi on the 26th of January, where the champion of season 41 will be crowned.
Yeah. Sorry, was that too loud? I had to play that song. I love it.
didn't expect it. I think that's the best way to put it. 2 races to go, both of them pretty decent on the game. One of them exceptional in real life, one of them less so. But Brazil and Abu Dhabi to round us off. With some of the fighting we've seen this evening, I think things could get pretty interesting, couldn't they, Logan, in the next couple of weeks?
Oh, they could, with the title that close now. Van der Geest getting up to 8 points there tonight. Maybe more if there's penalties to be awarded. He will be... I don't think he will be like in a race one ahead away from the lead, but he'll definitely be a race one ahead behind Volkongen. So don't rule him out, but it looks like it's all Tony Richet versus Volkongen. Oh, and don't forget, Dylan Hoagland's now up to 38 after not doing the first 3 rounds, and the 6th round as well. He's now on 38, and he'll be ahead of Ivanis Grieg. He'll be ahead of Dirk. Will he be ahead of Dirk? I think he has penalties, doesn't he?
Potentially. Dirk had a bit of a stinker, didn't he? I think he got embroiled in a couple of bumps and scrapes, especially with those 2 Haas cars late on. But I think what's interesting is with this realistic 2-car battle, though Mats van der Geest is the outsider, there are so many other runners and riders that could really upset the apple cart in these last 2 races and make life for Tony Richet and Volkongen even harder than it already is.
That is absolutely correct. So, 2 rounds to go. We're starting to enter the real home stretch now. Next week, 8 o'clock, 19th of January, we're going to Interlagos in Brazil. I'm not playing the sound again, I promise.
Hey, you can play it now. I'm expecting it.
Alright, fine.
Brazil!
Never gets old. Thank you, Global TV, for producing that gem. I think that's actually the one for the football. So, or the football. If they score, that's what plays usually.
Brazil,
yes.
Brilliant circuit. I can just over my left shoulder there. There's the picture of Interlagos, Sao Paulo. In my opinion, best circuit on the calendar. I'm very much looking forward to that. Could also be a return to the 2-stop strategies. It can be a bit marginal, the one on the 2-stop. Earlier on in the game cycle, definitely a 2-stop race. Now you can get away with the 1-stop strategy. So that is going to be a fascinating one as well. Before we go, make sure you check out Sim Racing Setups, linked in the description of this stream. Get your hands on the pro setups and unlock extra performance. Created by drivers you see competing week in, week out here at PSGL. Esports and stable setups available for every single circuit. Qualifying race setups, dry or wet weather, optimal race strategies, all of it thrown in there with free meta setup updates as well. All available for £49.99. £49.99 divided by 27, which is the number of circuits on this year's game. Pretty darn decent value. simracingsetup.com, linked in the description of this stream. And use the code PSGL at checkout for a delightful 5% discount. But before we go, first of all, once again, an absolute pleasure to bring this series to you on a Monday evening, a magnificent Monday evening with some PSGL PSF1 action. Logan, thank you for joining me as always. Where can people find you on the old socials to check out what you're up to?
Angryginge.com. No, sorry. Otaku Logan on the YouTube channel. Of course, I rarely upload these days, but I really should get into it. I just haven't found the motivation, admittedly. It's just been this so far, but not too shy to produce content when I feel like it. Got a lot of old consoles here. That's all I'm going to say, though, because I don't want to waffle on and make this be a advert break.
Make sure you check him out, though. Check out Otaku Logan. If you're interested in what I'm doing, wilco.coms or wilco.darts on TikTok and Instagram. But thank you, everybody, for joining us. Pleasure, as always, to bring this series to you. Just a couple of races left before we crown the Season 41 champion, a crackerjack in Saudi Arabia tonight. I don't think the drama's quite finished yet because the stewards might be kept fairly busy. Until next week, enjoy PC, which will return to your screens on Thursday night, of course. Have a wonderful rest of your week. We will see you in 7 days' time for the magic that is the Brazilian Grand Prix. See you then.